Hi everyone. My name is attorney Yael Brudner. I am an immigration attorney. I'm located in Southern California. And our firm represents clients from all over the world. We help a lot of people achieve their American dream. So we help families, we help business people, entrepreneurs, companies, anyone that wants to relocate to the United States. We are here for them. And today I am just answering immigration questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to write me, just write a message or a comment here, and I promise to try to get to it. So thank you for everyone that's joining. And I'm really glad to be here today. Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Thanks, guys, for confirming that you guys can hear me. Perfect. So we already received some questions over the week about immigration. So I picked the best ones. I mean, all questions are great, but I picked the ones that I think most people will relate to, and I'm just going to answer them. And again, if you have any questions while we're going, just go ahead and write them in the comments, and I'll try to get to them. Okay, so let's see. This question is, I'm on DACA and I just married a US citizen. Can my spouse petition me for a green card? Okay, so for those of you that don't know, DACA is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and it is a status that allows for individuals that are here in the United States and they don't have any status to be able to live here and work here through this program, through this DACA program. And you probably heard a lot about it in the news, right? There's a lot of action going on around DACA, but it is still available and many people are on DACA. So if you're on DACA and you married to a US citizen, you can definitely start your green card process. And the way the green card process works really depends on how you entered the United States. Okay, so let's say you entered with a visa and you just overstayed that visa and then you fell out of status and you applied for DACA, received DACA. So now you're here, you have a work permit and you can live and you can work here. If that is your situation and you're married to a US citizen, you can do the entire process of applying for the green card here in the United States. Okay, you can apply for something called adjustment of status. Okay, if you did not come in with a visa and you came in without documentation as a child, your parents brought you in or another family member, and now you've been living in the United States your whole entire life, and now you're married to a US citizen, then you can still apply for the green card, okay, generally speaking, but your process is going to look a little different depending on when you received DACA. If you were under the age of 18 or over the age of 18, you may or may not need a waiver. Another thing is that if you did not come in legally, for the most part, generally speaking, you would have to leave the United States in order to complete your green card process. But if you are on DACA, if you did marry a US citizen, please contact us, okay? I really recommend consulting with an immigration attorney about your case. If you want to consult with us, I'm happy to talk to you. Here's our number. You can reach out, text us, or call us, and we'll be happy to help. Okay, another question, and thank you for everyone that's joining. I'm so happy to see you guys here. I'm immigration attorney Yael. I'm answering immigration questions today. So please feel free to drop your questions and I will try to get to them. Okay, so there's a question here if I can take cases for people who live in Michigan. Yes, I can. And the good thing is about immigration is that it is federal law. So it does apply for everyone throughout the United States. An attorney can represent you even if we're not in the same state as you. Okay, and I see your question from Michigan. It has a lot of facts into it. I can tell that it's pretty long. So let me just read it a little quickly and see if I can answer it here live. And if not, then feel free to reach out. Okay. I have an I-130 application through my U.S. citizen brother. I applied in 2009 in Michigan. I tried waiting, and the problem, the chart is moving. There's no movement. What do you think about my case? And do I still have to wait? Okay. So if you have a US citizen sibling and your US citizen sibling brother or sister petition you for the green card, unfortunately, you're right. The wait is very, very long. Depending on what country you're from, the wait could be a decade and even longer. So unfortunately, right now, there's nothing really to do. It's just about waiting and following those dates. Okay, so just for general information, when someone petitions you for a green card, and if it's a family member, not all family member petitions are treated the same. So some family member petitions are higher level or higher priority in the eyes of immigration. So for example, if it's an immediate relative, which an immediate relative would be a spouse of a US citizen, parents of a US citizen, and minor children of US citizens, there's no wait for those categories. But anyone else, so brothers and sisters or family members of green card holders, you have a wait, and that wait is determined by the visa bulletin that's advertised every month by the Department of State. So unfortunately, siblings, brothers and sisters are the longest category. Okay, but thanks for the question, and thank you for joining our live. Okay, so another question I have right here is, I'm a US citizen and I just turned 21. Can I petition my parents for a green card? So the answer to that question, and this is a super common question, we get it a lot. We represent a lot of kids that petition their parents. It's very common. So yes, if you're 21 and you're a US citizen, you can petition your parents for a green card. Okay. And it's a really good idea to consult with an attorney, an immigration attorney, about your case, because the petition part is only the first part of the process. So a green card process always has two steps to it. First would be the petition, where you as a US citizen are petitioning your parents, and it's an immediate relative category, so there's no wait. But the second part would be your parents actually applying for that green card. And that's an important part, because if your parents have previous immigration violations, or they have a criminal history, or they've been deported before, or any other issues in their background, they might not be able to get that green card. So I always recommend to consult with a lawyer, have a background check with the lawyer of your parents, to just make sure that they will actually qualify for the green card at the end of the day. Okay, but to your question, yes, in general, if you're a US citizen and you're over 21, you can petition your parents for a green card. Okay, and thank you for that question. If you would like to talk to us privately about your case, feel free to reach out. We would love to help you. Okay. Okay, there's a question here asking what a waiver is. That's a really great question. So certain cases in immigration, in order to proceed and complete the process of a green card, you might need to ask for a waiver. So to ask for forgiveness of a previous immigration violation, or the most common waiver that's needed is a waiver of unlawful presence. So if you have been unlawfully present in the United States for more than a year, and then you have to leave the United States to proceed with your green card application, then you trigger something called a 10-year bar to return. And many, many times, applicants for a green card need to ask for forgiveness of this 10-year bar before they can get their green card. It's a complicated process. It's really something to consult with a lawyer if you are in this situation. Okay, let's see. Thank you for everyone that's jumping on this live. I can see you guys joining. Thank you so much. For those of you that are joining now, my name is Yael. I'm an immigration attorney, and I'm answering immigration questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them on the message here and in a comment, and I will answer them as we go. Okay, so I do have some questions that already came in, and I'm just going to pop them up here. How do I prove to immigration that my marriage is real? This is so common. We get this question a lot. from our current clients and from potential clients, or just from people who just ask us on social media. So why do you even have to prove your marriage is real? If you are going through a marriage-based green card process, that means that your spouse is either a green card holder or a US citizen, and they are petitioning you for a green card. And the first part of this process is this petition, right? So you have to show in this petition that you got married. This marriage is not just for the green card. This marriage is a true and real marriage. You got married because you intended to have a life together and not for the purpose of just getting a green card, right? And how do you prove that? So you have two opportunities usually to prove your marriage. And the first opportunity you would have is on paper. So when you file your application for the green card based on marriage, you have an opportunity to submit documents that will show that you are a married couple. And these documents, really, there's no limit to what you can prove. Anything that you think can prove, you should include in your petition. And the most common ones would be, if you guys are living together, then a joint lease. If you have a bank account, showing that you have a bank account, providing a statement from your bank, showing both your names on it. If you're living together and you have utilities that you guys are paying together, include that. Include your electric bill, your gas bill, your waste management bill on both your names. Those are really, really good evidence. If you have filed taxes together, submit a copy of your tax returns. I've had a couple that adopted a puppy, right? They adopted a puppy together. Both of their names were on the adoption records with a cute picture of the puppy. Perfect. Obviously, if you guys have children together, put in the birth certificates of the children. Okay. For couples that are not living together, and maybe you guys are in a different country, then you have to get creative, right? You don't have those formal documentation like bank accounts and utility bills. So for you guys, I would recommend affidavits from friends and family attesting to your marriage, photos of each other, trips that you've taken to each other, WhatsApp messages, Facebook, anything that you guys have done to connect to each other. So that's the first opportunity on paper. And then the second opportunity would be at your interview. Okay, at your interview, you can supplement, you can bring more evidence. Sometimes it takes a year until you get called for an interview. So that's really good to have, build your record while you're waiting for your interview. Okay, so you can supplement more documents at your interview. And if you're having your interview here in the United States, you will also be asked questions about your marriage. So both the US citizen spouse and the applicant for the green card will be asked questions about your marriage, and you'll have opportunity to orally explain to the officer that you guys are a real couple. So there's many ways to prove to immigration that your marriage is real. We have a ton of information on our website. It's brudnerlaw.com. Feel free to go and check out. We have a lot of blogs about this, and always feel free to reach out to us and get individual consultation if you're interested. Okay, let me see. Questions. Okay, there's a question here about a visitor visa. I have a visitor visa. Can I switch to an F1 student visa if I'm in the United States? So that's a great question. The answer to the question is yes, you might be able to. So how do you switch your status? It's really important to kind of make sure we understand that visa and status is not the same thing. So visa is always something that you would apply for at a consulate outside of the country for the purpose of allowing you to come in on that visa. However, if you're here and you're a tourist, you can apply to change your status to a student status. You would need to do that as long as you are in status, so before the expiration of your tourist, and you have to get accepted to an international school program here that will provide you with documentation that you qualify to be an international student, and then you can apply to change your status. Okay, so definitely a possibility, but you have to make sure you're not falling out of status. If you fall out of status, then you won't be approved for your change of status. Okay. Wonderful. Thanks for the great questions. And for those of you guys that are joining me now, I am an immigration attorney, and my name is Yael Brudner, and I am answering immigration questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in, and I will try to get to them. Perfect. Okay, I see a couple more questions here. I'm currently a student on F1 status. Can my US citizen boyfriend petition me for a green card? Great question. So yes, as if you are here in the United States on an F1 status, you're a student here, you came in lawfully with your F1 visa, or maybe you came in with a different visa and then you changed status to F1, similar to what we just discussed, then if you get married to your US citizen boyfriend, and now your US citizen boyfriend is your husband can petition you for a green card. The process can be completed completely here in the United States. Generally, I'm assuming that you entered with a visa, so you can file the petition for the green card, and you can file to adjust your status here in the United States. And the good thing is you can also apply for a work permit and for a travel document to allow you more freedom while you're waiting for your case. So definitely it's an option. I always recommend to consult with an immigration attorney about your case because each case is different, right? If you have any immigration violations in the past, if you have any criminal record, or anything that you think would prevent you from getting a green card, it's a good idea to consult before you apply for the green card. Great. Let's see. A question as if an F1 student can bring their family to the United States legally. So yes, so an F1 student, a spouse and minor children under 21 can also come to the United States on F2 status. Okay, so if you get F1, your spouse and your children under 21 can get F2 status and be with you here. Okay, they won't be able to work, but they would be able to live here and go to school. Okay. If you guys have any other questions, please drop them in the comments and I'm happy to answer them. Okay. Here's a question. What questions will be asked at our marriage-based green card interview? Okay, so this is a great question, also very common. So part of the process when we prepare our clients for their interview, we have a mock interview at our office. So we always like to practice with our couples the questions that they may be asked. And this way they usually feel a little bit more comfortable kind of knowing what they're getting into. So what kind of questions? The questions really divide up to a few categories. So the first type of questions would be biographical questions. So you might be asked questions about your spouse's bioinfo. So birth date, where they were born, what their parents' names are, what's their address, and questions like that. Where do they work? Okay, so just information about your spouse, and it's expected that you know your spouse's name, parents' names, his siblings' names. Okay, what's the brothers and sisters of your spouse, where your spouse was born, and questions like that. The second type of questions that we get are questions about how did you meet each other, and it's kind of like the courtship phase. So tell us about the time that you were dating, and then where did you go on your first date, questions like that, and then leading up to the proposal. So was there a proposal for marriage? Who proposed to who? Can you describe it? And then questions leading up to also the wedding itself. Where did you get married? Who attended your wedding? Did you go on a honeymoon? How did you celebrate your marriage? Questions like that. And finally, the last type of questions that you might be asked are questions that have to do with your life together currently. So questions can be, what's your spouse's work schedule? How does your spouse drink their coffee? What side of the bed does your spouse sleep on? what does a normal Saturday look for you guys? These questions can be asked specifically to the US citizen petitioner, directed to each one of you guys, or it could be just kind of thrown in the air and then whoever answers, answers. Sometimes couples will also be separated and they would be asked the same set of questions for the purpose of confirming that the answers are similar. Okay. Really, you shouldn't be worrying if your marriage is real, even if you don't know all the questions. I mean, if I ask my husband some of these questions, I don't know, honestly, if he'll know all the answers correctly, but it's all about credibility. So I've been to interviews before where, oh my gosh, there was a lot of wrong answers, but still the couple was approved because the interviewer, the officer, had a good sense that these are a great couple, a real couple, very credible, and just they don't remember dates and stuff like that. But it's always better to practice and remember the core dates. So for example, dates like when did you meet, when did you get married, and if you have children, what are the birth dates of your children? Okay, so those are some examples of what marriage-based green card interview questions are. Obviously, I'm happy to talk to you specifically about your case if you want to practice for your interview. We do that all the time here at our office. Okay, let's see. There's a question here. How many people can I petition for at the same time as a US citizen? So that's a really, really great question. Thank you for asking. There is no limit to the number of people that you can petition as a US citizen, with one caveat. So part of the requirements of a petitioner is that you have to provide sufficient proof that you have income to support the people that you are sponsoring financially. So in case the applicants are in need for financial support, you have to show the government that you can support them. And if you are petitioning multiple people, you have to show that you have the financial capability to do that. Okay, so that's just one caveat. But many times we have, for example, a case where a US citizen spouse is petitioning their wife, and their wife has minor children from previous marriages. So in this case, the petitioner will petition for his wife, and then also will petition separately for the children. And you can do that at the same time. So they'll have multiple petitions going on. Okay. And if you would like to talk to us about your case personally, our number is right here on the screen, and you can reach out to us. We'd love to help you. Okay, folks, let me just see if there's any other questions that I'm missing out here. Okay, so there's another question here about sponsorships. So if I want to move to the United States as an immigrant, I need a sponsor, right? If I own a house in the United States and a good bank account, do I still need a sponsor? So if you are being petitioned for a green card in the United States, okay, this is not in a case if you're petitioned for, I'm not talking right now about other types of temporary visas. But if you are being petitioned by a family member for a green card, that family member will need to file something called an affidavit of support showing that they have sufficient income. Now, you can use also your income as long as your income was made in legal ways. So if you're in the United States here and you're not authorized to work, then you wouldn't be able to use that income because it's unlawful. It wasn't authorized. Okay. But if you happen to have assets, and those were legally acquired, then you can use them as well. Okay. Last question. Let's see. I asked many today. That's okay. Thank you so much for asking the questions. I'm happy to answer. How do lawyers charge for their case or by working hours? So we charge a flat fee per case. So it depends on your case. Every case type has a different fee that we charge, and it goes by the amount of work. And we're happy to discuss with you privately, depending on what case you have. Let's see. There's a question here. Is the decision about a green card given at the interview? So there are a couple of options at the end of your interview. Best case scenario, yes, you can get a decision, you can get an approval of your case at the interview. And that's the best scenario, right? You go in and you go out, you go in with, no status, and then maybe you come out as a green card holder. Perfect. If an approval cannot be made at the interview right at the moment, usually an officer will continue the case. They will give you a letter saying, thank you so much for coming. We're going to review your case and let you know our decision. And then either they will send you an approval in the mail at a later date, or they will send you something called a request for evidence, meaning they can't right now make a decision without further information from you. So to your question, a decision can be made for an approval. Most times there's no denial at the interview unless it's something really outrageous. But for the most part, most cases don't get denied at the interview. So it's either approved at the interview or continued and for a decision at a later date. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining. It was so great seeing you guys all here and answering some of your guys' questions. My name is attorney Yael Brudner, and I would love to talk to you personally about your case. If you're interested, feel free to reach out, send us a direct message, and we'd love to help you. So have a good rest of your day.